The American Bar Association just voted to allow law schools to bypass the LSAT entirely. This is a massive shift, but it doesn't mean the LSAT is dead, not even close. At the same time, it does signal a shift in how law schools could evaluate applicants in the near future. So let's look at what's actually changed. The American Bar Association has always required law schools to use a valid and reliable admission test when evaluating applicants. Typically, that's the LSAT, and now they're creating a formal process for exemptions. Schools can apply for a variance, which is like a temporary permission slip, to let in students without requiring any test score at all. This variance lasts for 3 to 5 years, and schools can reapply after that to extend it. It's not automatic, and each school has to make the case for why they should be allowed to go test optional. But the vote from the ABA makes it clear that test optional law school admissions is officially on the table. Now, a lot of people are going to see this and think to themselves, that's great, I don't have to take the LSAT anymore. And that would be a huge mistake. And here's why. This actually won't affect most applicants. The majority of law schools are not dropping the LSAT requirement anytime soon, not this year, not next year. Also, it's not going to affect most admissions decisions. Even if a school can let in students without scores, that doesn't mean they will, especially not at scale. You can expect that test optional will apply only to a small portion of admits, if at all. And this absolutely does not change scholarship offers. Merit-based scholarships in particular are still driven by test scores. If you don't apply with an official LSAT score, you are dramatically reducing your odds of getting financial aid. That's money that you'll otherwise have to cover with loans. So this is not a green light to avoid the LSAT. It's just a sign that schools want more flexibility in unique special cases, not that they're abandoning standards altogether. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, can I get into Harvard or Yale or Stanford without the LSAT? They are not the ones who are going to go big on test optional at first. The T14 schools rely on high LSAT medians to maintain their status in the U.S. News Law School rankings. Rankings protect their brand, their funding, and their pipeline to top law firms and clerkships. There's no chance they're giving that up. You're also unlikely to see low-ranked schools abandon the test entirely because they already struggle with bar passage rates. They need tools like the LSAT to predict which students are academically prepared. If their graduates fail the bar, they risk losing their ABA accreditation. That leaves the middle tier schools, think 50 to 100 in the US News rankings. These are the ones most likely to experiment. They want more applicants, more diversity, and more flexibility in how they shape their incoming classes, and they're the ones to watch most closely over the next couple years. Now let's talk about what happens for schools that do drop the LSAT requirement. If they don't have the LSAT, that means they rely more heavily on things like GPA, personal statements, letters of rec, and resume. And that creates a huge problem because grade inflation is real. There is no standard way to compare a 3.7 GPA from UCLA with a 3.7 from a small liberal arts college, or 3.7 in physics versus 1 in English. The head of LSAC even admitted that GPAs are now so inflated as to be virtually meaningless in admissions. And personal statements are unstandardized, they're often ghostwritten or edited heavily by consultants. So they don't provide a consistent way to measure applicants either. The LSAT remains one of the only standardized benchmarks that law schools can use to evaluate applicants fairly across different schools, different majors, backgrounds, and experiences. Even schools that get a variance will still likely recommend that applicants send in an LSAT score. And of course, there are scholarships. Law school is expensive. Sticker price could easily run you $200,000 or more over 3 years. But most students don't actually pay that because law schools offer merit-based scholarships to attract top applicants. And those are overwhelmingly based on your LSAT and your GPA. And of course, by the time you're applying to law school, your GPA is mostly fixed. You can't go back in time and redo undergrad as much as you might want to. But the LSAT is something you can still train for and improve significantly. And of course, you could retake it in the next couple months if you want to. And that improvement can literally save you 6 figures. So if you're applying to law school this year, next year, anytime soon, what should you do? The most practical, real-world answer is take the LSAT. If you want scholarship money, take the LSAT. And if you want to maximize your options, take the LSAT. Don't count on test optional admissions to be the norm, not anytime soon. And don't expect it to work in your favor unless you have a killer GPA and resume to back it up. This is not a test you take just to get in. It determines where you get in, how much debt you take on, and whether you can reshape your narrative. The LSAT gives you leverage, and leverage is what changes outcomes.